Hello, good evening, everyone, and welcome to today's analysis session. So, this is the second practice set, and I will be doing maths paper 2. Let me start with screen sharing. Okay, so I guess the screen is being shared. Yeah, so that's the first question. Question number 1A. Uh, okay, so the first one says, in triangle ABC and triangle PQR in a 1-2 correspondence, here this one PQ is to be changed with RQ, that was a correction, and BC over PR equals TA over PQ, then which of the options is correct? So for this one, the correct answer is B. Okay, so if you can see here, we have got triangle PQR, which is similar to triangle CAB. If we check the correspondence, it should be same. If we consider AR, it should go with RQ. So yeah, AB, it goes with RQ, then BC goes with PR, BC goes with PR, and finally CA with PQ. So CA goes with PQ. So that's how the correspondence work, and we select that particular choice. Let's look at second one. Out of the following, which is a Pythagorean triplet? So clearly the smallest Pythagorean triplet is 3, 4, 5. Better you could always memorize this. Remember few initial Pythagorean triplets. Next, if two circles are touching externally, how many common tangents of them can be done? So the correct answer to this is 3, because if we consider two circles which are touching externally like that, then one tangent can be like this, second tangent can be drawn somewhere like this. Just a minute. Yeah, that's the second tangent, common tangent, and of course another third one like this. So these are the three tangents, the common tangents for both the circles. Okay, so the correct answer is C, even though in your textbook you may find the answer to be A, but the actual answer is C. And fourth one was, the question was out of syllabus, so in case if you have attempted it, you will get full marks for this. Next we proceed with question 1B. 1, from the given information in triangle PSR, we are asked to find RP. Okay, so here we will be using 30, 90, 60 rule. Yeah, and that's the solution to it. Let me quickly just zoom in and explain it out to you. So just check. This is the rule. Opposite side to 30 degrees in a 30, 60, 90 triangle is half of hypotenuse. So just substituting the values here, opposite to 30 degrees is the side RS and the hypotenuse is RP. So RS equals to half times RP. RS is 6 and half of RP. We write it as it is. We shift 2 to the other side and that gives us RP equals to 12. Okay, since the unit is not mentioned here, we don't write the unit, we keep it as it is. Next question is to construct an angle of 110 degrees and bisect it. So for this, I'll quickly share another Okay, so it seems there is some error on the site. It was a construction tool where I could actually do the constructions and then show it to you all. So it seems it's not possible. So I will be straight away sharing something that I have already with me. That's the solution. For question 1B. So first you need to start with drawing out this angle, which is 110 degrees by using a protector. So angle ABC in this case is 110 degrees, and then we bisect it. So keeping the steel point on B and drawing two arcs of same length. And then from those two arcs, we take random distance and then try to draw these two arcs which cross out to give us the angle bisector. That's how we get BR as the angle bisector. Next, we look at question 1B3, which says write the midpoint segment formula. So the midpoint segment formula was a straightforward, easy question where you just need to mention it like this: x1 plus x2 over 2 and y1 plus y2 over 2. That's the midpoint formula. And then for the fourth one, again a straightforward question: what is the value of cosec 45? So straight away you could mention the answer to be root of 2. Yeah, moving on to question number 2A. In this question, this is a question which was already done in the first paper. It was there in that paper as well. Here AB equals to BC, this part is given. So we could mention given over there. Angle BAC in this case is BAC. This angle is 45 degrees since this is isosceles triangle. So BAC is 45 degrees. AB is equals to BC, and this is a rule of a 45, 45, 90 degree triangle, that these two sides are equal to 1 over root 2 times the hypotenuse. Hypotenuse is AC in this case. We replace AC with root of 8, and this 1 over root 2 gets carried up to the next two boxes, and root 2 gets crossed out. That gives us the answer to be 2. Okay, those were the boxes. Next, for a second problem, I see a student raising hand. Maybe we could take the doubts at the end. Yeah. So question 2, tangent segment drawn from an external point to a circle are congruent. Draw radius AP and radius AQ. So we were asked to join these 2 points and complete the following activity. We know that radius and tangent, they are perpendicular to each other, right? And then we are looking at triangle PAD and triangle QAD. Segment PA is congruent to segment AQ. So here we write segment AQ. Okay, the reason being radii of the same circle. Next, segment AD is congruent to segment AD, this being the common side. So we could mention common side here. And then the third point being the angle P and angle Q both are 90 degree by tangent theorem. Therefore, these two triangles, they are congruent by which test? So they are congruent by right angle hypotenuse side test, RHS test, 90 degree hypotenuse and side. Okay. Therefore, these two sides, they are congruent by which rule? It's the corresponding parts of congruent triangles, CPCT. Okay, that completes the second problem. For next one, it says, yeah, one box was missing. So here there was supposed to be one box. Now we know sec square theta minus tan square theta equals 1. So if we shift this tan square to the other side, we get sec square theta equals to 1 plus tan square theta. So 1 plus tan square theta is actually sec square theta. We replace 1 plus tan square theta with sec square theta like that. You could clearly see it is a sec square theta here as well. Then in the denominator, we know that sec theta is 1 over cos theta. So sec square will be replaced by 1 over cos square theta. So here gets cos square theta, and then crossing out these two terms, we get the answer to be 1, which is the right hand side. Okay, that completes this question. Let's look at the fourth one. Question number 2A, fourth problem. Here there was again some correction. Triangle PQR is missing over here. These two triangles are similar and we are given the areas of the triangles and we can find the corresponding sides. Okay, so we start with reducing this 80 by 125. We can reduce by the table of 5. So 5 times 16 is 80 and 5 times 25 is 125. And we know that if two triangles are similar, then ratio of the areas is equal to the square of ratio of their sides. So of course the sides will be square root of these two. So square root of 16, that is 4, and square root of 25, that is 5, will be the respective sides. Let's move on to next question. Question 2B, the ratio of corresponding sides of similar triangles is, this is the ratio given, 3:5. Then find the ratio of their areas. So for this one, I'll quickly try to pull out the solution. Yeah, so for this one, we are given the ratio and we are asked to find ratio of the areas. Now we know this property, so we can write it out that ratio of areas of two similar triangles is equal to the square of the ratio of their sides. And that's how we can put it up in an equation. Ratio area of triangle 1 to the area of triangle 2 is equal to square of ratio of side 1 over side 2. Side of triangle 1 over side of triangle 2. And then we are replacing the ratio 3:5, square of which is 9:25. It should be a 25 here. And that gives us the solution to be 9:25. Okay. That completes solution to this. Moving on to next question. Yeah. The sides of triangle of a right triangle are given to be 9 centimeter and 42 centimeter. And we are asked to find the side of hypotenuse. So clearly you could just draw a rough diagram like this, where any angle can be a 90 degrees. The two sides are 9 and 42. So you can mark it out like that. And we are asked to find the hypotenuse. So clearly mention it like this: in triangle ABC, which triangle is 90 degree? And then stating that by Pythagoras theorem, hypotenuse square is equal to side 1 square plus side 2 square. Since we have drawn this diagram, we just replace with the corresponding sides. So AC squared equals to AB squared plus BC squared. Substituting the values, 9 squared plus 42 squared. 9 squared is 81, 42 squared is 170, 1746, adding which we get 1845. And then this is AC squared, and we need to find AC, right? Just AC. So getting rid of this square, we put a square root on the other side, and then simplifying. How do we simplify? Do the prime factorization like this, and whichever factor repeats twice, you pair it up and you can write it outside the root. So 3 is written out of the root. Maybe you can write it out like this: 3 times 3 times 5 times 41. This is a pair, so we write it once out of the root. Whatever remains stays in the root. So 5 times 41, that's 205. And don't forget to mention the unit. The unit mentioned is centimeter, so we put a centimeter there. Yes, for this one, we are given a diagram over here. We are given that BC is perpendicular to AB and AD is perpendicular to AB. We are given two sides, BC and AD, like that, and we are asked to find the area of these two triangles. Okay, so here we use this property. We use this property stating that when areas of two triangles with the common base, if you look at the triangle ABC and the other triangle which is ABD, for them the base is common, right? This base is common, AB is common. When the bases are same, then areas of the respective triangles is equal to straight away the heights. So area of triangle ABC over area of triangle ABD, if we consider the ratios, it would be just BC for the red triangle and just AD for the green triangle. So BC over AD, substituting the values and reducing it to lowest form, we get the ratio. Okay, that completes the solution to this problem. Next, we are asked to find perimeter and side of a square with diagonal, with a given diagonal. So for this one, you could always start with writing out what is given and what we are asked to find. Okay, here. So this is something you need to remember. Diagonal is equals to side times root of 2. So you can start with writing out what is given. The diagonal is 10 centimeter. What are we asked to find? The side and perimeter of square. And then you start with the solution like that. Diagonal is equals to side times root of 2, and then just substitute. So diagonal is 10. The side we don't know, keep it as it is, root 2 as it is, and get the side by itself. So shifting root 2 to the other side, that becomes 10 over root 2, multiplying the top and bottom by root 2. Why are we doing this? This is called as rationalizing. Always rationalize the denominator. Whenever you have this thing, root in the denominator, then we rationalize it. That is, we are trying to get rid of that square root sign in the denominator. So multiplying the top and bottom by root 2 like that, we get side equals to 10 root 2 upon 2, and then 2 times 5 gets reduced like that, and we are left with the side. We have side equals to 5 root 2 centimeters. Once we have that, we can find the perimeter. We know perimeter of a square is 4 times the side. So 4 times 5 root 2, that gives us 20 root 2. We multiply number with number and root stays as it is. So 4 times 5, that's 20 root 2 centimeter. Next, we look at question 2b5. This is a question which was repeated. Yeah. So we are asked to find the coordinates of a midpoint. This is a question which was there in practice paper 1 as well. So you can just start with drawing out 2 points and then joining them, and then we need to find the midpoint like that. So to find midpoint of these 2 points, and then you start with writing out the formula x1 plus x2 over 2, comma y1 plus y2 over 2, and then just replacing the values. X1 is 22, y1 is 20, x2 is 0, y2 is 16. Substituting the values like that and then simplifying, reducing it to lowest form, you get the midpoint to be 11, 18. That completes question 2b. And now we look at question 3a. Yeah. So for question 3a, the part that you see in blue was missing. So that was supposed to be added up. Okay, so in this given triangle, X is a point in the interior of the triangle. PQ is given to be parallel to DE. RQ is parallel to EF. PR is parallel to DF. And then we are asked to fill these boxes. To prove that, yeah, we have to prove that PR is parallel to DF. That part is something we need to prove. So we start with stating that in triangle XDE, okay, so here it's already given this triangle XDE. For this triangle, we see that these 2 sides are parallel. Therefore, by basic proportionality theorem, we can say that the ratios XP over DP is equals to XQ over EQ, like that. So let's try to fill out the boxes. For the first box, this part is given. We are given that PQ is parallel to DE. Then by basic proportionality theorem, clearly we can use XP over DP is equal to XQ over QE. This is by basic proportionality theorem. Then QR is parallel to EF. Again, this part is given. Therefore, what can we say? XQ over QE is equal to XR over RF. This is the same reason by basic proportionality theorem. And then from equation 1 and equation 2, we see that the SQ over QE part, both are same. So we just use the remaining fractions, that is XP over DP is equal to XR over RF. When the ratio is equal, XP over DP and XR over RF, then we can say that these 2 lines, they are parallel. So PR is parallel to DE. That proves it by converse of basic proportionality theorem. We look at question number 3A, second one. In the figure called EF is parallel to GH, and we are asked to prove that EG is parallel to FH. Please give me a minute.
Hello, Madhur ma'am.
Okay. So we have question 3A, second part. Question 2. We are given that in this figure, chord EF is parallel to chord GH. So EF is parallel to GH. And we are asked to prove that EG is congruent to FH. So there was one error here. It was supposed to be FH. The first sentence says angle EFG is congruent to angle FGH. So just try to look at it carefully. EFG and FGH, they form Z formation, and that's alternate angle theorem, right? It's because of alternate angle theorem, like that. And then we say we use the inscribed angle theorem. Now, what is inscribed angle theorem? So it states that for any circle, if we consider an arc, let's say this arc. So this arc is actually twice of this angle. This is the inscribed angle, and it is equal to the central angle. So the central angle will be equal to this one. Let's say this is 100. So this will be 100, but this angle will be half of it. That is, this will be 50. Okay. So here we are looking at angle EFG. So just take a look at this angle EFG. So this angle will be half of this arc EG. So this is half of measure of the arc EG, like that. Okay, we are using the same inscribed angle theorem once again. Okay, I'll just put this symbol here, but you need to write it out here. Okay, inscribed angle theorem. What about angle FGH? So if you look at this angle FGH, it is half of the arc FH. So it's half of measure arc FH. All right. And then we know that these two angles are equal, they are congruent. Therefore, of course, these two, the right hand sides will also be equal. If the left hand sides are equal, then the right hand sides are also equal. And then we can cross out the half and half. So therefore, we get arc EG will be equal to the arc measure arc FH from 1, 2, and 3. From 1, 2, and 3. Since the left hand side is equal, the right hand side is equal. And since the arcs are equal, we can say that the chords are also equal. And what's the reason to this? We mentioned the reason to be chords corresponding to congruent arcs are congruent. The chords which are corresponding to the congruent arcs, that is, if the arcs are congruent, then we can say that the chords are also congruent. Yeah, since these two arcs were congruent, these two chords, they are congruent. We move to next question. Question number 3B. First one. Let me quickly post the solution. Yes, here. This is a textual question. So you can start with writing out what is given, what is to prove. That gives a clarity on how to use the rules or which particular rule would be used here. That comes, those ideas come to your mind, the method, the mind map comes to your mind, the road map actually. So here we are given that the quadrilateral ABCD, any you can use any name. So let's say quadrilateral ABCD is a rectangle. This is something given, and we are asked to prove that this is cyclic square. Okay, so cyclic means what? Cyclic means the opposite sides, the opposite angles are supplementary. That is, sum of the opposite angles, it has to be 180 degrees. So we start with the given thing that it's a rectangle. So therefore we can say that angle A equals to angle B equals to angle C equals to angle D. All the angles are 90 degrees. This is the property of a rectangle. And then by just adding any two opposite angles, we can say that the sum is 180. Therefore this is a this is cyclic. Okay. Coming to next question, determine the points are collinear or not. So to solve this, we need to find the distance between the points AB, BC and AC. And then we check if adding any two sides gives us the third side. If that happens, then we say that yes, the points are collinear. Otherwise, the points are not collinear. Okay, that's the idea. So we start with finding any one side first. Let's say we start with finding what is AB. So using the distance formula here, which is root of x2 minus x1 the whole square plus y2 minus y1 the whole square. And we are just plugging in the values, solving and simplifying to get some number in the root. So here we get AB equals to root of 5. And then we find what is AC. Again, applying the distance formula, plugging in the values. You could see here I have written A and C and then x1, y1, x2, y2. You can always mark, put some markings and then plug in the values like that and simplify and solve to get the number 125. And then to simplify from here, you can do this prime factorization, a quick prime factorization. We see that here the factors 5 and 5 are repeating, right? So whatever repeats, whatever forms a pair is written out of the root, and whatever remains stays in the root. So root of 5 stays in the root. So far we have got AB and AC. Next we find what is BC. Okay. And once we get the value of BC, we will add any two sides and check if it gives the third side. Correct? So here we are going to add any two. Okay, let's find BC first. Yes, we are finding BC using the same distance formula, plugging in the values and solving. You get root of 180 and then doing the prime factorization that gives you 6 root of 5. And here if you check, you should always try to highlight that AB is root of 5, here AC. So adding AB and AC, that is 5 plus, this is 1 over here. So 1 plus 5, this is 1 over here. Root of 5 plus 5 root 5. We add the numbers and we keep the root as it is. So 5 plus 1 is 6 root of 5. So we see that AB plus AC gives us BC, and therefore we say that these 3 points, they are collinear. That completes the proof. We look at next one. My system doesn't seem to be working properly. Just give me a minute, please. Question number 3B, 2. We saw 2 just now, we move to question 3 now. That's a problem on construction. So start with drawing out a rough figure. A rough figure like this. And then you do the actual working, where you start with drawing out the circle using the radius 3.5 centimeters. And then they're asking us to take a point P, which is at a distance of 5.7 centimeters. So from here, you could extend it from from O, the distance is 5.7. So take a point P at 5.7, and then we bisect the side OP, draw a perpendicular bisector to OP. And how do we draw the perpendicular bisector? Keeping the steel point at O, we draw one arc like this and one arc like this, and then we take more than half distance in the compass, and then using the same length, we keep the steel point on P and cross out the arcs. Joining these 2 points, we get the perpendicular bisector, and that gives us this point. Using this point, let's say this point is X. Using this point, we draw a circle, and wherever this circle hits the original circle, that is the point of intersection, this is how we get the tangents. Joining point P to point A, that is one tangent, and joining point P to point B, that gives the second tangent. Make sure to draw arrowheads, and also the labelings are important, right? A rough figure is really important for you to understand what exactly you're going to do. And it doesn't matter really if you don't use a circle here, a proper circle. It's just a freehand drawing. A rough figure is just a freehand drawing. Okay, let's move on to next question. Question number 3B4 was a question which was out of syllabus. Okay, so in case if you have attempted that, you would get marks for it. We move on to next question number 4, first one. This was again easy question with good number of marks, where you are just applying this the segment formula. It's called as, just give me a minute, the section formula. Yes, we use the section formula here for question number 4, first one. So here we are given 2 points A and B, and we are asked to find the coordinates of points which divided into 5 equal congruent parts. So just check everyone, you can start with drawing out this diagram, drawing out 4 points so that there are 5 equal partitions. Check, this is the first one, second, third, fourth, and fifth. So there will be 4 points like that, and we are asked to find the coordinates of the points P, Q, R, S. So 1 mark each. We start with finding the point P. So we have the points x1, y1, x2, y2. We need to check what is m is to n, okay, the ratio. So to get this ratio, try to understand this. Here all the 5 partitions are equal. So when we look for P, we consider this to be 1, and we consider these 4 together. So we get the ratio 1:4. Yeah. So we get this ratio 1:4. And then you could see this is the section formula. M times x2 plus n times x1 over m plus n, m times y2 plus n times y1 over m plus n. And we substitute the values here. So we have m to be 1, n to be 4. These are the values of x1, y1, x2, y2. Just plug in the values and solve it systematically to get the value of P. which is 16, 12. Then we move on to find the value of Q. So always try to repeat the diagram. It really doesn't matter how many times you are drawing it out. Your level of understanding should be clear so as you solve it systematically and clearly, correct? So just check, I have drawn this diagram once again with just one point Q here. Okay, so when you look at the point Q this time, when you look at the point Q this time, it is 1 1 1 1 1 over here. When we are looking at this particular point, on the left hand side there are two ones, that is a 2, and on the right hand side there are three ones, that is a 3. That gives you the ratio 2:3, like that. Once you have the ratio 2:3, this is M, this is N, and then you have those 2 points. I have not mentioned the formula again here because you won't get extra marks for writing out the formula 4 times, right? Just try to plug it in a proper systematic way. So just replacing the values and solving, that gives you the value of Q, which is 12 and 14. X is 12 and Y is 14. Likewise, we go on simplifying to find R and S. Yeah, we are finding the values of R and S. So this time, yeah, let me just add it in here first. Yeah. So if you solve it further, again drawing, just check, this point was P, Q, and now we are working on finding R. So 1, 1, 1 here. So they add up to make a 3, and 1, 1 here. So that gives you the 2. That's how you get the ratio 3:2. And then plugging in the values in the section formula, you get R, that is 18, 8,16. And then we find the value, the coordinates for point S, 1, 2, 3, 4 parts on the left. So that's 4 over here, and one part on the right, that's a 1 on the right side. So that's 4:1 is the ratio. This is M, this is N. Okay, plugging in the values for the in the section formula and simplifying, you get S, which is 4,18. Once you have all the values P, Q, R, S, you can always write it out systematically, properly at the end, like that. Okay, it gives a chance for you to get, it's just that the person who is correcting your paper finds your paper more systematic, always starting with given to prove the solution and then the conclusion or the final answer. Boxing it out is again a part of good manners, isn't it? And let's move on to next question now. So this question, question number 4, the second one, there was some problem, there was some error, some words missing. The actual question was something like this: the inscribed circle of triangle ABC with the center P touches the sides AB, AC, BC in the given points L, M, N. Okay, and we are asked to show that area of triangle ABC is equals to half times perimeter of this triangle ABC times the radius. And how would we proceed? We can start with writing out given. So nothing much is given over here. Okay, it's just that the points are intersecting at these particular points. Just give me 1 minute, please. And what are we asked to prove? This part. Okay, I'm not going to write that out. We are asked to prove this part. So let's start with the proof. We can always start. This is the tangent, correct? So this is a 90 degree, isn't it? Likewise, if you see, this is a radius and this is the tangent, that means this is also 90 degree, correct? Likewise, using another color, I'll try to explain. This is the radius and this is the tangent, so this point is also 90 degree. What uh, rule is it, or what theorem is it? So just check. By tangent theorem, right? We know that the tangent and radius, they are perpendicular to each other. So you could mention, we know a radius and tangent are perpendicular to each other. Therefore, here PL is perpendicular to AB, PM is perpendicular to BC, and PN is perpendicular to AC. Okay, this is the first part. We are just saying that these are 90 degrees, and now we will work on one triangle at a time like this. This is the first triangle. So let's find out what is the area of this triangle. Okay, and then we will say that is equation 1. We'll move to the second triangle and then the third triangle. That will give us 3 equations. Okay, let's do that. So in triangle, let's say we are considering the triangle APB. In triangle APB, what can we say about area of the triangle APB will be equals to half times height times base, correct? So for APB, for this triangle, what is the height and what is the base? The base is the tangent and the height is this radius, correct? So that is half times, height is actually the radius. I will write an R, and the base is AB. So this is your equation 1. Likewise, we work on the next triangle. Maybe we can say triangle, let's say I'll just write out from here. So in triangle, the next triangle, let's say BPC, this other triangle, the one which I have highlighted in yellow. In triangle BPC, area of this triangle BPC is equals to half times height times base. The height in this case is the radius and the base is BC. This is equation 2. Likewise, we write equation 3 for the other triangle, which is left out, that is this triangle APC. Okay, this triangle APC. So in triangle APC equals to half times height times base, which is again half times height is the radius and the base is AC in this case. So this is our equation 3. Okay, now I have this areas in 3 parts. That is the area of this particular triangle, and then I have area of the second triangle, and then the area of this third triangle. Maybe I'll use this color. Okay, this third triangle, and then adding these triangles will give me area of the entire triangle, that is ABC, correct? So just by stating or simply by adding equations 1, 2 and 3, adding 1, 2 and 3, adding these 3 equations, we get area of triangle APB plus the area of triangle BPC plus the area of triangle APC. What do we get? We see that half is common in all 3 of them. R is common in all 3 of them. So half times R, which is common for all of them, will be written only once. And what are we left with? AB plus BC plus AC. So AB plus BC plus AC. Now you tell me, students, what is AB plus BC plus AC? Yes, I know you all have got it. This is actually the perimeter of the triangle, isn't it? Sum of all sides that gives you the perimeter. And what about the left hand side? If you see the sum of areas of three partitions, that is equal to area of the entire triangle, that gives us area of triangle ABC is equals to half times radius times the perimeter, right? Sum of these three sides, that's the perimeter, and that completes the proof. A very nice and interesting proof. Okay, just by using the radius tangent theorem and the area of triangle formula, half times height times base. Okay, let's move on to next question. Yeah, now in this question the number 6 was missing. The sides of triangle ABC are given to be 5, 6, and 7 units, and we are given the perimeter of this triangle to be 360 units. Okay. Further, it is stated that the triangle ABC and triangle PQR are similar, and we are asked to find the corresponding sides of triangle PQR. Okay. So you can always start again with writing out what is given. We are given that the sides of triangle ABC, they are 5, 6, 7, and the perimeter is given to be 360 units. What are we asked to find? So to find, we are asked to find PQ, QR, and RP. Okay, and RP. We are asked to find the three sides of the other triangle. So of course the solution, we can start with finding out what is the perimeter of the first triangle, since we are given perimeter uh, of the other triangle PQR. Yeah, this is for triangle PQR. We can always start with finding the perimeter of the triangle ABC. So perimeter of triangle ABC is equal to, adding all the sides, what do we get? That is 5 plus 6 plus 7. Directly you can just write it out. That is equal to 18 units. Okay. And since the triangles are similar, we are given that triangle ABC is similar to triangle PQR. Therefore, by the correspondence, we can say that um, AB upon PQ will be equal to BC upon QR will be equal to AC upon PR. Okay, you can check the correspondence like this, correct? BC goes with QR and then AC goes with PR, something like that. And of course, we can equate this to the respective perimeters. So perimeter of triangle ABC over perimeter of triangle PQR. And then we just plug in the values, correct? So let's say the sides here are something like this. AB is 5, BC is 7, and AC is 6. So this would be 5 over PQ equals to 7 over QR, which is equals to 6 over PR. That gives us we are just replacing the values we have, and this is 360. And now we can reduce this to lowest form. That would give us 1 over 20. 18 times 2 is 360, so 1 over 20. Okay, now since we have the ratios, we can always compare any two ratios and then find the missing value. Like here you could do 5 over PQ equals to 1 over 20, simply cross multiply. So you would get 5 times 20 equals to PQ. So PQ is 100 and unit is mentioned to be just unit like that. Next, you can compare the other two ratios. Let's say 7 upon QR equals to 1 over 20, again cross multiplying. So 7 times 20 is QR, which is equals to 140 units. Likewise, solving, you will get PR to be cross multiplying like this. So that would be 120 units. That completes the solution. Okay, and of course you can always do the conclusion at the end, like therefore the sides of the triangle PQR are what are the sides? We got them to be 100, 140 and 120. So 100, 140 and 120 units like that. Okay, let's move on to next question. Yeah, this is a question from they call it HOT, higher order thinking problem. Okay, so here the 3 was missing. One correction in this question, 3 was missing. So the actual question is 3 tan squared theta minus 4 root of 3 tan theta plus 3 equals to 0, and we are asked to find the value of theta here. Okay, so the best way of solving this problem is by by substitution. So we can always set tan theta to x. So the equation will change. If tan theta is x, then check students, tan square theta will be x square. And now we are replacing tan square theta with what? X square, and tan theta with just an x. So 4 root 3x plus 3 equals to 0. This gives you this quadratic equation, and solving this quadratic equation, you will get the value of x. And x is nothing but tan theta. Let's solve it out and then check how things work. So first, how do you factor this quadratic equation? Either you go with the quadratic formula or you can do simple factorization method. So let's say you are using the factorization method. So you multiply the first term and the last term, that gives you the product. What is the product here? 3 times 3, that is 9. And what is the sum here? Sum is the middle number, that is minus 4 root 3. So we are trying to find two numbers. On adding, we should get minus 4 root 3, and multiplying, we should get a 9, correct? So the easiest way of doing this is factor out 9, that is 3 times 3, and then 3 can be further factored as a root of 3 times root of 3. Okay, check. So 9 can be written as 3 times root 3 times root 3. But we want only two factors. So 2 factors means let's use this as one factor and this as the other factor. Okay, let's check if we get the product same and the sum to be same. Yeah, so this will be 3 root 3 and the other number will be just root 3. Okay, now comparing the signs, we want the sum to be negative. So both the numbers have to be negative, isn't it? What do we get on adding 3 root 3 and root 3? Minus 3 minus 1 will give you minus 4 and root 3 stays as it is. This is the sum. Yes, we want that. And multiplying all 3 of them together gives us 9. So we are on the right track. That means we are going to factor out 4 root 3 as, we write the 3x square as it is. This will be factored as 3 root 3x minus 1 root 3x, and this plus 3 stays as it is, isn't it? This is how you factor. We are factoring, that is, we are splitting the middle term like this. And now we go by factoring by grouping. Group the first two numbers and the last, first two terms and the last two terms, and you factor. What is common in the first two terms? 3 is common and x is common. What are we left with? 1x, 3 and x is gone. So 1x is left. 3 and x is gone. So just root 3 is left. From the next two terms, we can pull out one negative sign. This is negative sign over here. What is common in these two terms? Okay, let me write it out over here for you. Root 3x and the other number is 3, which can be written as root 3 and root 3. So clearly students check, in these two terms, this is actually root 3 and root 3. So root 3 and root 3 is common, isn't it? Right? So root 3 is common. What are we left with? If root 3 is gone, we are left with x. If root 3 is gone, we are left with just 1 root 3. And why this negative sign? Because when we pull out a common negative, the sign in the bracket changes. So this positive changes to negative. This is equal to 0. And check, if both the parentheses, if both the brackets are right, are exactly same, then we say that we are on the right track. So yes, these two brackets, they are same. We write it only once. So x minus root 3 only once. What remains goes in other bracket. So 3x minus root 3 goes in the other bracket. This is equal to 0. And now solve for x. So what do we do? Well, the next step is we equate both the brackets to 0 and then simplify. Okay, let me just get some room to draw here. So x minus root of 3 equals to 0 and 3x minus root of 3 equals to 0. Yes, and that gives us x equals to root 3, and over here x equals to, this becomes plus root 3, and then the 3 goes into the denominator like this. Okay, and we have, what was x? X was tan theta. What was x? X was tan theta. So replacing back, okay, resubstituting, we get tan theta equals to root 3, and here tan theta equals to root 3 upon 3. Now you look at the table of trigonometric angles. What is the value of theta for um, when it's root 3? So the answer to that is tan of 60. We know that tan of 60 is root 3, correct? So therefore we get theta equals to 60 here. What about the other part? So check, this is actually, if you simplify this, you can write it as root 3. 3 can be written as root 3 into root 3. So 1 root 3, 1 root 3 gets crossed out. We have tan theta equals to 1 upon root 3. For what angle of tan is the value 1 upon root 3? For what value of tan, okay, for what angle is the value of tan 1 root 3, 1 over root 3? It's tan of 30, which gives you 1 upon root 3. Therefore, we have theta equals to 30 degree. Thus, we get two values. We were asked find the value of theta, and we have got the solution to be theta equals to either 30 or 60 degrees. Okay, that's the complete solution. It's actually all about factoring. You replace the tan theta with x, tan square theta with x square, you get a quadratic equation. Solving the quadratic equation, you get some values for x. Replace back x with tan theta, and then you compare it with the trigonometric table of trigonometric angles, and that gives you the value of theta. Okay, that completes the solution. I hope this is clear. And then we have the last question, which was to find the coordinates of circumcenter of a triangle whose vertices are -3, 1, 0, -2, and 1, 3. Now for this question, you need to understand what is a circumcenter. Okay. Just give me a minute. So for circumcenter, we know that it is the center of a triangle which lies inside a circle. Right? So in case if I draw a circle like this and say that's a triangle with those vertices -3, 1, 0, -2, and 1, 3. Circumcenter is this center. Okay, that means if you join, let's say, let's label the circumcenter to be a point, let's say P, and you can always label this to be A, B, C. Okay, let's say you need to find the point, let's say that is A comma B. And now to find this circumcenter, you need to get the clear idea first that it's a triangle which lies, the points of the vertices of which triangle are on the circle, and then it's the center of that circle. That's the circumcenter. So to find this, we use the distance formula. Okay, how to use that, or what's the logic behind? We use the distance formula here for the point BP. So first find out what is BP using the distance formula, then find out what is AP again using the distance formula, and then find what is PC. Okay, so that gives you three equations. These three equations will be in A and B. So equating any two equations, we will get two linear equations. Linear equations in two variables, solving which we get the values of A and B. Okay, let's look at it. Let's say what is the equation we get for AP. So AP equals to, let's first write out what is A here and what is P here. So A is -3, 1, and P is A comma B. So what is AP? AP equals to root of x2 minus x1 the squared, x2 minus x1 the whole squared, plus y2 minus y1 the whole squared, right? That is equals to root of, so this would be A plus 3 the whole squared plus B minus 1 the whole squared. Okay, we just have to solve it out systematically, or maybe we can keep it like this. This is equation 1. Or else let me simplify it a little. Let's say A squared plus 6A plus 9. We are using identity here. What's the identity? A plus B the whole squared is equals to A squared plus 2AB plus B squared, that identity. And then same identity with a negative sign. Here will be the negative sign, plus B squared minus 2B plus 1. Okay. So this is actually root of A squared plus B squared plus 6A minus 2B plus 10. This is our equation 1. We have got one radius. Likewise, we have to find all the three radiuses. Okay, so three radiuses, and then equating, we get any two equations. Okay, that's the method to it. Let's look at the next equation. Let's go with BP. All right, I'm using green color now. So what is B? 0, -2, and P is A comma B. So using again the distance formula, I'm not going to write out this formula again. I'll just plug in the values. Okay, students. So A minus 0 will be A, that will be clearly A squared, plus B minus 2 will change to plus 2. So B plus 2 the whole squared, that would give me A squared plus B squared plus 4B plus 4. This is equation 2. Okay, that's like we are just trying to simplify it to the maximum. And then we find the other radius. We are done with AP, we are done with PB. Now we find what is PC. Okay, so P is A comma B and C. What is C? C is 1, 3, and P is A comma B. So what is PC? That is equal to root of A minus 1 the whole squared plus B minus 3 the whole squared. And then you just simplify it. So that would give you root of, this will be a squared minus 2a plus 1 plus b squared minus 6b plus 9. We are using the identity, okay, students? And then one last step here, root of, writing the squared terms first, then the single terms, that is 2a and 6b, and then 9 plus 1, that is 10. So this is our equation 3. We have got 3 radius, and now we know that radius of a circle, they are equal. So we write out, let's say we are equating AP with PB, okay, equating AP with PB. So AP is equals to PB. How? So they are radii of the same circle. Okay, and when we are equating the roots, there are roots to both the equation 1 and equation 2. So the roots will get crossed out. What are we left with? A square plus b square plus 6a minus 2b plus 10 equals to a squared plus b squared plus 4b plus 4. And what will happen? This a squared and a squared will get crossed out, b squared and b squared will get crossed out, and then we are left with one equation. So check everybody, this 4b would, to shift to this side, it will become minus 4b. So 6a minus 2b minus 4b will become minus 6b, which is equal to, this 10 will shift to the other side. 4 minus 10 will give us a negative 6. And all the 6's will get crossed out. We have the equation a minus b equals to negative 1. This is our equation 4. Okay, likewise, now it's up to you. Maybe you could equate any other two, any other two radius, and then you will get some different equation. It's completely up to you. Now I am going to equate these two sides. So over here, equating the other two sides, that is PB with PC. So PB equals to PC. Again, the reason is same, because they are radii of the same circles. And when we are equating both of them, equation 2 and equation 3, the roots will get crossed out. We are left with just a squared plus b squared plus 4b plus 4, which is equal to a squared plus b squared minus 2a minus 6b plus 10. Minus 6b plus 10. Okay, minus 6b plus 10. And then check, a squared b squared gets crossed out. Get all the terms on one side. So this will be 2a plus 4b plus 6b equals to 10, and this 4 will shift to the other side, minus 4. So it will be 2a plus 10b equals to 6. Now reduce this, simplify it, dividing all of them by 2. Okay, so that will give you a plus 5b equals to 3. This is your equation 5. We have got linear equation in 2 variables. Now solving these two, you'll get the value of a and b. Okay, I'll leave this part for you. Solving 4 and 5. Yeah, so just solving these two equations, you would get the value of x and y to be negative 1 over 3 and 2 over 3. That completes this solution. Okay, so a quick recap on this question. For this, we start with drawing out a diagram like this, and then finding what is AP, BP, and PC. Okay, find out these 3 sides, which are the radii, and then equating any two of them. Let's say you are equating the first two and then the second two. That gives you 2 equations, 2 linear equation in 2 variables, and solving these two, you'll get the answer to be -1/3 and 2/3. This is something very easy. You can always try that out. Okay, that completes the last question, and I hope you all followed it. Yeah. Still, if any questions?